I just want to introduce Simon Constable. He's a vet. He works in Manchester, probably the biggest practice in the Manchester area. He's got small animals, and he's also got a large equine practice with 4 vets plus Simon going around doing the horses. Simon is an incredibly farrier-friendly vet. He does appreciate and understand the ins and outs of farriery. He does listen, and he does believe in everything that we do. So I'm just going to hand you over to Simon. He's going to give us a talk on laminitis and equine metabolic syndrome, which hopefully is a new thing that's getting bandied about a lot. And it is complicated, but hopefully it'll give you a deeper understanding of laminitis. So I'll just hand over to Simon.
Thanks, Paul. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Right. Well, I thought it was a bit of a challenge, apparently. So I was a bit surprised. I think it is important. I want to talk about what Paul mentioned earlier on. There's a bit of overlap with thoughts, but it just seemed that a fundamental part of my work, anyway, seems to be laminitis, and a lot of that is caused by this equine metabolic syndrome, which is a relatively new thing. I'll come on to sort of explain a bit more about it. And I apologise if it's a bit sort of technical, a bit in detail, but I think it is quite important for you as farriers, and again, I'll come on to explain why that would be, to sort of have a bit of an understanding, and maybe what Paul was saying before about the developmental phase, which he said that you would never come across, or you'd never be asked to see one. Maybe it's actually something you can get in there fairly early and do something. So this is a sort of typical laminitis sort of stance that you get, this sort of legs forward and things, but you don't always see it like that, and I think the only thing about this horse that would make you sort of be a little bit concerned is the fact that it's quite a fat horse, and as we'll come on to show, that this equine metabolic syndrome is sort of quite closely linked with that. And basically, what they're now saying is that you can sort of divide laminitis into 2 sorts. You've got the endocrinopathic laminitis, which relates to hormones, so that does include your equine metabolic syndrome and your Cushing's. And then you've got the non-endocrinopathic, which are the things that we probably don't see a lot, certainly I don't see a lot of anyway, and these are things like the sort of retained placenta, the male that doesn't cleanse after falling, or the really bad colics where they get sort of severe toxemia, or very bad diarrhea, things like that, and they get these toxins into the bloodstream, and it causes this SIRS, this systemic inflammatory response syndrome, which just causes a massive inflammatory response. But I'm not really going to concentrate on that because that is a tiny, tiny part of it, and the vast majority of laminitis is something else. So, as I sort of briefly mentioned then, this endocrinopathic laminitis is split into 2 sorts really. We've got those that are dependent on steroids directly, which are things like Cushing's. It's got another name that it's called the pituitary pars intermedia disorder, and PPID, which you don't really need to know. But it's basically Cushing's disease. It's a tumour, if you want to call it that. It isn't truly a tumour, but it's in the brain, and it leads to a release of the body's own steroid. Iatrogenic, that means it's been given by us, by a vet generally, and it's becoming an increasing problem. I've had one that I had to euthanize after giving it steroids, and it was one of the most horrible days of my life when I found out that I'd given this sort of steroids, and that led to laminitis. But it does happen, and as vets we now have to warn people. There's different sort of percentages now. We talk about maybe it's 0.15% or 0.5% of horses that have steroids will develop laminitis. But it is there. It's a significant proportion, really, I suppose. In other words, you're talking maybe 1 in 200 that get steroids. And we do a lot of steroids for joint problems particularly. On the other side, we've got things like equine metabolic syndrome or pasture-associated laminitis, and really, it's all to do with this equine metabolic syndrome. Really, the pasture-associated laminitis is something that is involved, but it's probably directly related to the obesity and the equine metabolic syndrome. So this is what I mentioned briefly before. So these are all, toxins, colic, all this sort of thing. On the right hand side there, you've got the mare that's got the cleansing hanging out. And mares are very intolerant of having the cleansing. Cows that can have it into days and it can cause a problem, but mares, they have it in sometimes even as short as 6 hours and start to get toxins which are absorbed into the bloodstream. can lead to this SIRS. Like I said, I'm not really going to mention too much about that. But the important thing about this is no amount of skill by yourselves particularly, and I did direct it towards farriers really, because you're the ones that are really treating laminitis. The vet comes along and does the fire brigade stuff, but you're the one that's treating it, and unless you deal with the underlying cause, or unless the vet or everybody deals with the underlying cause, you're not going to get these ponies right. It's the reason that you're doing a great job, you're doing everything that you should do, you're putting the shoes on as you should, like Paul was mentioning before, and it just doesn't get right. And why is that? Well, the main thing is the equine metabolic syndrome, particularly in younger horses, and then the equine Cushing's disease in older horses. So these are sort of good examples of what you should look for. These two are the sort of the ones that you would expect associated with equine metabolic syndrome. So you've got your little fat pony, and you've got those that are just obese, and that's a pad of fat just behind the shoulder. That's the wheels just coming up there. And then this, you've probably seen maybe the sort of little oval pony that's got a curly coat, and that's again a typical case of Cushing's really. And then, as I mentioned before, grass, the pasture associated, all the iatrogenics, is steroid that we use quite a lot for injecting into the joints. So, equine metabolic syndrome, coming on to that now, it was mentioned, or the first main paper that was about this. I mean, people talked about this sort of peripheral Cushing's for many years, but the first main chap was a chap called Philip Johnson, who published a paper in the Veterinary Clinics of North America in 2002. It's a really hard paper to read, to be honest. It's very sort of technical, talking about enzymes and all this sort of thing, some of which I'm going to mention actually later on. But it's quite a good one in that it explained all these reasons why we weren't getting these laminitis. Like I said before, you were doing everything right, you were treating it with the right drugs and the right shoeing and trimming and everything. Just wasn't getting right. And it showed that it is related to sugar and fat metabolism. And this insulin resistance, which many of you will know, I mean, certainly it's a big problem in humans now, is this type 2 diabetes, which is related to us getting older and not exercising as much, and obesity. So that can be a bit of a problem. And then there's this genetic predisposition, which was mentioned. Now, that's not actually been proven yet. There's no sort of definite, they have studied so many horses that that's what it is. But there does seem to be a family thing. You tend to get like families. Now, whether that's families of horses, it's not families of horses, or that probably applies as well to things. But a lot of, I mean, you could say, well, it's often the same type of people that own these ponies. They're all, show ponies, they're all fat, and they want to do well on the show ring and all this sort of thing. Excuse me. But there is definitely, does seem to be certain breeds, the native ponies particularly, and like I say, certain families of horses that it seems to be more likely. And as it says there, especially ponies, you get it a lot in ponies, a lot more than you do in horses, but it's not exclusively ponies. So if you're seeing these ponies, these are the sorts of things to look at. I found this a really hard picture to get actually. But this is just to show this sort of fat pad that you get over the eye. As most of you will be aware, there's normally like a depression of the eye there, and there isn't any of this what's called retrobulbar fat around just behind the eye globe or the eyeball. But with these, you get this sort of real obvious bulging. It's probably easy to see in sort of actually while you're hands-on touching the horse than it is to show the picture. But that again, one of the signs of it. The fat neck, maybe not that apparent in this pony, but you can really, with a lot of them, they sort of have this almost like lumpy neck. And there's actually a theory now that maybe this is a better indication of a sort of body condition score than it is the actual other condition score where you're measuring sort of like the, how many ribs you can count and all that sort of thing. As I showed before on that other picture of that chestnut, but also here, you get these sort of funny like lumpy bits around the sort of the girth and just behind the shoulder region. And again, typical of these equine metabolic syndrome horses. And again, the bloated appearance, that's the horse, not me. They look like they've been pumped up. They look like someone's got a bicycle pump and pumped everything up. They're just like a big almost like I was thinking like a sea lion legs, you know, they're just like a big fat lump of blubber or something. So we get a bit more into the technical stuff now. This is all related to insulin and this insulin resistance or this diabetes type 2 sort of thing. If you get it very mild, you get the sort of the pasture-associated laminitis, and what that means is you generally get it in the summer, obviously the time of year when there's a lot of grass. So they're the milder cases. You also get this pre-laminitic metabolic syndrome, which I suppose in a way is what Paul was mentioning before about this developmental condition. In other words, you're getting these signs that are, all the building blocks are there to cause laminitis, and it's only a matter of time, really, certainly in my opinion, that you're likely to get it. But you also get the more severe ones, which are the all-round insulin-resistant ones, and they have a high insulin level, constantly high insulin level. And although it does actually fluctuate, there's times of year, and actually, I don't know if any of you have noticed an increased amount of laminitis this time of year, but I certainly have. I'd say over the last month, they just seem to have exploded again, and you just don't really expect it at this time of year. And this is the reason for it, is because of this yearly variation, or this sort of monthly variation in the level of insulin concentrations. And as I'll come on to mention, explain why that causes or why that leads to laminitis. You don't have to remember this, but if you do, you'll impress your lecturers at college or whoever you're passing an exam with or whatever. But this 11-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase is an enzyme which is in fact, it's actually released by a type of white blood cell called macrophage in fat, which is not general fat, it's the fat around the intestines. It's what's called a mental fat or a mesenteric fat. And this is the problem with these, that with insulin resistance, with secondary metabolic syndrome, you get an increased likelihood of this fat occurring. And I think of it in my own mind as in a sort of a simple way, is that maybe a couple of million years ago, when the horse was living on the mountains, there was no sort of like fertiliser used on fields or anything like that, was scrabbling around for food. It was actually to their advantage to store fat, because what they would do is in the summer they'd fill loops, they'd be eating, they'd be piling fat on and storing it everywhere they could do, and one of these places is in this area. So then obviously in the winter they could live off that fat. And so what they needed is a way of making sure that in the winter, when there wasn't as much food around, that they were still surviving. So they developed this insulin resistance, this sort of ability to resist insulin. I don't know if you're all aware what insulin does, but if insulin rises, it removes glucose from the bloodstream. And obviously glucose is energy, really, that's what we use as our energy source. So if the insulin goes higher, it removes the glucose from circulation, the opponent becomes lethargic and it dies. And even in the winter, they've got to eat, they've got to get the fibre through to the digestive system, because horses rely on fibre. So, like I say, in a way, sort of 2 million years ago, it worked to their advantage because they could stay alive in the winter. Nowadays, it's completely different, and we're actually starting to, obviously, starting in the last sort of 100 years maybe, we start to look after our fields a lot better, particularly very recently, with the fertilisers we've got. Haylage, I think, is another important thing. And so we're giving them a lot more, and so they're storing this fat because it's in their interest as as a prehistoric horse to do that. But obviously nowadays it isn't in their interest because they've got a constant or better diet all the year round. So this is where this enzyme builds up. Like I say, it's this mental fat, so you get more and more levels of that, and then that causes inactive steroid cortisol. We've got this floating around our bloodstream all the time, and there's quite a lot of it. But there's less of the active stuff, and it requires this enzyme to convert it into the active stuff. And then once it leads to that, as I mentioned before about this horse that I gave laminitis to, it can then lead to the problems. What cortisol does as well is general steroids, to be honest, increased fat deposition. So we just said, what we said before about more fat being laid down around the intestine. Increase in free fatty acids, that's another thing that actually makes them more insulin resistant, which makes a vicious circle really, and it also affects things like the liver, as well as affecting the blood supply. So And it causes the increase in what are called inflammatory mediators. These are the things that actually lead to laminitis, and there's been a very high level of these. I mentioned one there, that's something called tubular necrosis factor alpha. There's another one called interleukin-1 beta, and these are things that actually attack the laminae in the foot and cause the changes that Paul was showing on the slides of the feet, you know, where they're all separated, and again I'll come on to sort of explaining how that happens. So, in a nutshell, the more active steroid you have, the more risk you have of laminitis. So what it means is then that smaller things will tip them over the edge and lead to that. And similar sort of picture to what Paul showed. This is the sort of the important bit. This is the connection between the dermis or the living stuff and the epidermis or the dead stuff. And if that separates, that's when you lose the integrity of the hoof, and you know, this sort of hoof lamella interface that we talk about becomes disrupted and damaged. And this is the fundamental thing. And again, you know, you're the chaps that sort all this out. So, just sort of taking a bit of a step back, the hemodynamic theory, which is a bit what Paul was saying about the arteriovenous anastomosis and this, what's called the shunt from the artery side to the venous side, means that you don't get enough blood supply to the foot. The blood supply to the laminae, to the living things, die off, so they just die and separate and everything. So this is where you get the cytokines. That's a bit like that TNF alpha I was talking about. These MMPs or matrix metalloproteinases, these are what are called proteases. They attack proteins, and these are the things that actually disrupt the connection, the sort of interlocking finger thing. Again, Paul showed the diagram of all the sort of the laminae, the primary and secondary laminae all interconnected. And so these MMPs are the ones that blast everything apart. There's sort of like a bomb in there. So you get the separation of the basement membrane, loss of integrity of the foot, and then, again, as Paul said, it's all about pressure. Compartment syndrome is a pressure build-up with nowhere for that pressure to go. So something's got to become damaged, something's got to be affected, and in this case, it's the blood supply. It's the blood supply to the foot that just becomes affected and damaged, and you've had it really. So, also, there's these. Well, this is under investigation at the moment, and in fact, at Liverpool University, there's somebody there called Cottam Horseshoes. I don't know if any of you have heard, but she was involved in one of these Lancet roadshows that's been going around recently. She's the one that's doing quite a lot of investigation, and if you do have clients who are having their horses put down, and they're sort of pretty amenable to it, and you've got this either insulin resistance or Cushing's or anything, if you can, have a word with her and try and get the feed to her. They will pay for the horse to be disposed of, and basically what they will do is they will look at the feet and look at the effect that the insulin has directly on these laminae, on the structures there. Because the theory is that it again causes all this sort of damage that we were talking about. It causes the constriction of blood vessels in itself. I'm not just talking about other factors as well. I'm talking the insulin directly affects it, as well as this, even glucose. I mean that has an effect. If you have a high level of glucose, which with the insulin dosage you do, insulin resistant dosage you do, that will actually, a high level of glucose is actually toxic to the cells, and that causes them to die off, causes them to constrict, blood vessels to constrict down, and makes things even worse. So it's like a vicious circle. Again, I mean, this is a bit of what I showed before. These cytokines, these inflammatory mediators that we just said are increased with insulin resistance, affect the matrix metalloproteinases and separation of the basement membrane, which causes the separation of the laminae. So, is everyone asleep? Is everyone following me? Yes, a few yawns. Just to wake up a little bit. I thought it might sort of encourage people just to liven up a bit, so I'd show that. And as we're sort of in a sort of equal opportunities climate, I thought I'd show this to the ladies, and is it Sam as well? I was a bit annoyed with this contract, they cut my head off when they did it. Anyway, back to the science. So, how do we do it? I mean, what is the sort of the point of this? Why am I telling you as far as you may think, well, it's nothing to do with me, I don't want to know that. Well, I think you're, again, like Paul says, you may not see these, or you may not be aware you see these developmental ones, but really you are the people that can really stop a lot of this laminitis, because the vet comes along and advises, and the owner generally will do what they want to do, or they'll listen to the woman who's done an AI or whatever on the yard, or somebody else who they just don't want to listen to. But they will often listen to you. You're on the yard, you've often got a really good relationship with the clients, often a lot better than the vets do, because you're there for quite a long time. And so you'll be able to sort of influence them on what to do and how to affect the treatment. So these are the things that you can be advising the clients on, things like diet, and these are the sort of the dietary things that we're talking about. Non-structural carbohydrates. That basically is these things here, the starches, soluble sugars and fructans. You may or may not be aware, but grass is basically made up of two sorts. You've got the structural carbohydrates, which are things like cellulose, hemicellulose. They can't be digested by sort of mammalian enzymes. We rely on, we do as well. But horses in particular rely on the bacteria in the intestines to digest them. We do have things that will digest these, and these are the problems, because, again, like I was saying about agriculture, it's developed in such a way that what's happened is the farming has improved because they've been trying to produce milk, basically, so they want more and more of these, which provide energy for the cow. It's quite an interesting thing about a dairy cow, and a dairy cow uses enough energy to run a marathon every day, so you can appreciate you've got to get all that energy into them. Horses don't need that. They're used to living on, things like the Welsh mountain ponies on the tops of mountains where they're struggling to get any grass or any decent quality grass anyway. So it tends to be more fibrous and not have as much of this in. But obviously we're altering that. We're giving them too good grazing and too good things like haylage and that sort of thing. So try and reduce that sort of thing. These are the things that are the things that are high in these structural carbohydrates: grass, haylage, hay. We always think of hay as being poor quality, but it's actually tons better than it was 20 years ago. It's improved tremendously in quality. And obviously bucket feeds, things like carbohydrates that we give them, oats, barley, pasture mix, you name it. It's all got these non-structural carbohydrates which are more likely to lead to these high levels of sugar. And as I said, the high levels of sugar are the thing that helped contribute to the insulin resistance. So, how do we diagnose it? This is moving sort of more towards the vet side now. What should we be doing? Blood sampling. Taking a one-off blood sample isn't always that accurate, but it gives you a good idea of what's going on. The alternative is, the gold standard is this glucose absorption test, where you give them a lump of glucose and then you measure the blood levels of how they respond to that, and that will tell you if they're insulin resistant. But to be honest, it's an expensive procedure, it's long and drawn out, you've got to take blood samples every 5 minutes initially, and it's just a pain in the backside, to be honest. So the far better way is the one-off blood sample if you start with them and start with those for sort of 8 to 10 hours. Just to mention as well, things like as regards Cushing's, these two tests here. I don't use the dexamethasone suppression test, which involves giving a steroid to the horse, and that suppresses the body's own steroid production, or it should do if they're normal. If they don't, that's an indication that they've got Cushing's. I prefer to do these other tests because that doesn't involve giving them steroids. Again, it involves being starved, but it's only for 8 to 10 hours, so it's a better way of doing it. Like I mentioned before, insulin and ACTH or steroid levels will vary through the year. So what would I say is, always get your vet or get the vet to send it, or make sure that the vet is sending it to the same lab each time, because if you send it to a different lab, you get a different normal result for that lab. So you might get an impression that the levels are going up despite the treatment, and that's not the case. So treatment, like I said, you can really be involved at the sharp end here, getting people to sort of go along with this. And low carbohydrate, don't turn them out on grass, don't give them good haylage good hay or haylage. Oddly as it sounds, provide fat as an energy source. I know that sounds completely wrong, but by giving fat as an energy source, you're actually stopping this spike in insulin and glucose in the bloodstream. So it's actually a better way of dealing with it than giving them sugar. So I know it sounds a little bit more around, and I think really initially if you're looking at reducing the diet, you don't need to give them fat. But if you get these thin ponies that are losing weight and are really bad, rather than the only giving them pasture mix, give them, oil, soy oil or something in the diet, and they'll often put the weight on that. And I'm a big believer in straw as well. I know you shouldn't ever sort of swap them straight from sort of like a hay diet or grass diet to straw, but sometimes just introducing gradually over a few weeks will often make a big difference, because he's got very little in the way of non-structural carbohydrate and a lot of the sort of the cellulose and hemicellulose that, like I say, is not a major problem for him. Reverse obesity, an easy thing to say. Starvation is a bad idea with these fat ponies, because what you actually do is you encourage the fat to appear in the blood, and that will actually kill them. Probably more likely to kill them than laminitis is, to be honest. So do not starve them. But what you do is you give them a poor quality hay, which is what that means there, and feed the 1.5% of the body weight, or target body weight, in the way of straw. There's been a study done this year that gave them 1% of the body weight, and what that is, if you imagine say a Welsh Section A pony, so it's 300 kilograms, that's talking about giving it 3 kilograms of hay per day, which is the size of a small cat, or the weight of a small cat. So you can imagine how little food you're giving them, and these owners think they're being cruel by not doing it, but honestly it's the best way of getting them to weight. Even 1.5%, that's a big cat weight of hay. So try and do it. And again, as I said before, feed the straw. Give them straw. It gives them something to do. It gives them that sort of time of eating. That is another problem. Is boredom of the horse or the pony, and not being able to to sort of have a sort of a decent quality of life as we see it. Increased exercise. This is a massive thing actually. If you can, again, coming back to you as far as getting in there before it happens and stopping this progressing, exercise will actually improve the sensitivity of the body to insulin. So if you can do that, you have a lot better chance then of preventing this, laminitis, metabolic syndrome problem. Obviously the difficulty is if you've already got laminitis, it's impossible to do, because as we all know, the more exercise you do on these damaged laminae, you're just going to rip them further apart and make the laminitis even worse. So try and get it, again, if you guys can do it early on, you stand a chance of doing something. Other drugs that we started using now, this one's called metformin. You may have heard of it, maybe you treat your sugar in some horses that are under this treatment. And again, in a way, it does the same as the exercise does. But you've just got to be very careful. Again, I know you might think, well, I don't need to know the dose, I don't need to know how many times a day you do it, but if you're getting a pony that's not improving, and the owner's only giving it once a day or twice a day, it may be because the half-life is so short that after about 6 or 8 hours, it's dropping down again. So you get this sort of a big lump, and it's ineffective for several hours a day. So maybe it's for you. It could be a good thing for you to sort of intervene and say, well, you should give it 3 times a day, or this is the dose rate that they talk about. Maybe it's better to give it a higher dose. And I've actually started giving them a lot higher dose now, because there is a debate about how well absorbed it is. Charles said this is a sort of a quick fix, really, I'd like to think of. This is a drug where you're sort of hitting them hard at the start, and I know it's not quite the same as the 11-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, but it's a similar sort of thing. It affects the release of steroid from particularly from the adrenal gland. And so what you do by that is, as I say, you're reducing the body's own steroid. And like I say, it's a quick fix. You probably don't want to keep them on it long term, but sometimes it's quite a good thing to help nip them in the bud. And Pergolide, there's a new one out now actually called Percent, which is a licensed product. Unfortunately, what it means is the price has gone up typically. The Pergolide wasn't licensed for horses, the Percent is licensed for horses. It's the same drug, nothing's changed a bit apart from the packaging and like I say, the cost. But what that does is it reduces the secretion of this ACTH, being the corticotrophic hormone, from the pituitary gland in the brain, and that's what controls the steroid release from the adrenal gland. So you reduce that, you reduce the problems. And this is just, again, an example. If you're seeing a pony like that as a farrier, and it's getting laminitis or there's a pretty good chance it's going to get it actually. There was a surveys done have shown that between 50 and 75%, so half to 3/4 of ponies with Cushing's have some form of laminitis. It may not be the really severe obvious ones, but they will have some form of laminitis. And again, another study has shown that about 15% of 15-year-old horses have Cushing's disease. And then for every 5 years after that, it sort of doubles again. So when the 20s, there's 30% of them have it, when the 25, there's 45%, when the 30, there's 60%. So you can see how many ponies and horses of a certain age will have Cushing's to a certain extent. They may not all have laminitis, like I say, maybe half to 3/4 will, but a lot of them will. So try and get into it now. You know, and I'm not just trying to do a business for myself, or maybe the more cynical about it will think I am. But you know, if you can get them at this stage, you stop the laminitis, and then you can stop all the consequences of it. I'll run through this briefly, and of course, really got into a lot of detail on this, and I'm not going to try and pretend I know more than you guys about it. You know, I'm fully aware that you studied for 4 years on just the feet, and as vets we study different species and different parts of the body and everything. But part of us, I do quite like these imprints. These are the imprint first. I do think I agree with Paul. I think the acute phase is brilliant. I just find that when you get into the more chronic ones where you do get the alteration in the hoof growth, that I just find a lot of them are really sore very quickly, and I find that maybe 3 weeks, a month at the very most, and you really struggle with these. And some of them are crippled, it's got abscess lame, and I think it's just a pressure thing because of the sole that's blocked in. This is the imprint plus one, the next one up. And I have used some of these in the longer term cases where you just want to take that weight off there. But again, I'm always a little bit wary, and like Paul says about sort of putting super fast in, I don't. I think sometimes gluing these on can sometimes make them more sore. I'm not saying you use super fast in these, but you sometimes get a bit of pain because of the pressure. Heel wedges, I'm sort of quite a big believer in this. I'll show you some pictures really of why I'm a big believer in these. Paul mentioned it really well about the pull on the deep digital flexor tendon that you get if you've got the heels. And I think, whereas years ago I used to think that when you were getting these ponies and you were trimming them, you had a nice sort of you had the x-rays there, and you trim them according to that, drop the heels and mash the to the whack, and everyone said, it's the, and then you nail the heart bar, and you say, it's the nail on that's made it really so. Well, I'm not convinced about that. I think it was the pull of the deep flexor tendon. In fact, I'm convinced it is, because that pulls so much that it will actually cause a lot of pressure on the heels. This is the filler again. I think this is probably one of Paul's cases actually. I think it is actually Willow. Again, I'm a big believer in this filler, this salt pack stuff, even the copper sulfate stuff as well, and put it in, from the point from back, and I just think it just spreads the load, it takes the weight off the wall, and that's where the pain is in these horses. Dorsal resection, I'm a big believer in these as well, and I think I don't always just use them if you've got a gas shadow or a serum shadow there. I think it's a really good thing, and part of me actually thinks maybe I should be doing them more than I am, and maybe earlier than I am, because you don't really want to go in and do them at sort of like 7 days, or maybe that's the best time to do them, because that's when you've got all the pressure build up there. But it's sometimes difficult to come to an owner that you really want to rip off its foot apart. And I tend not to do them like this. I've started at the bottom now with this one, but I tend to just do them as a little window now. And again, I did that in response to the sort of, to try and keep the integrity of the wall a bit better, because I find that if you do them like that, they start to splay around the quarters, and you end up with a hugely, horribly deformed foot, even if you put clips on and nail on the heart bar. I just find that isn't the way of doing it sometimes. I know Paul didn't mention it, but many of you might have seen the grooving. I think it was mentioned a few years ago. It's a similar idea to this really. The idea is that you sort of releasing this front wall, because I think there's several reasons you do a dorsal resection. One is so that you relieve this pressure, you relieve the serum, and you relieve all this pressure between the wall and the peel wall. But again, like Paul said about the growing down of the hoof, because obviously it's going down from the coronary band, and if it grows down and you've got a big sort of lamellar wedge on from there, you've could end up with that being sort of ripped away. Like again, Paul did mention it very well, and I think sometimes doing these, even though you've got a bit of a compromise because you sort of reducing the integrity of the wall, but you actually improve the growth and like I say, make them a lot more comfortable. And comfort is one of the big things in these. You find that if you can get them comfortable, it makes a massive difference, because basically if a horse is in pain, it's got a higher blood pressure, and if it's got a higher blood pressure, you'd think that will pump the blood around better, but it doesn't, because the body responds. The body's got something called homeostasis. It tries to keep the blood pressure to a regular standard level. So if the blood pressure goes up when it's in pain, it tries to bring it down, and the way it does that is to divert the blood away from the tiny blood vessels in the extremities, in other words, these here in the laminae, and bring them closer to the heart, so where the vessels are a lot thicker, so it reduces the blood pressure that way. So if the horse is in pain, it means the blood pressure is up, it means the blood supply to the foot is even worse, so try and reduce the blood pressure if possible. Obviously you can see from here, you've got such an extended toe there, that's just going to be putting so much pressure. Not only is it putting pressure down the deep flexor tendon, which is going to rip the pedal down, but it's also the extra stretching, the risk of infection, white line disease, all those sort of things that I think are real killers. I find that a lot of the time abscesses are one of my main problems with laminitis actually. So again, this is, as Paul had said, sort of type 2, you've got the chronic family, so you've got the remodelling of the pedal bone there, you've got this sort of really obvious sort of discrepancy there, you've got the phalangeal and the capsular rotation. And so, what would you think about doing with that one? Well, that's probably it. You drop the heel because you've only got that amount of support there for the sole. And you take all this front off, ideally, sort of as near parallel as you could with that. And so, in theory, that would be a really good idea. You did that, and you've got what you would say is a pretty normal foot, and if that went all right, you'd be okay. The problem is, as I mentioned, that what it does is you have the pull of the digital flexor tendon. If you don't resolve that, you could end up with that. It will give a little bit. You've got a little bit of elasticity there, but you don't have a lot. And the problem is that just pulls it further apart. So you do this, you do what you think was a lovely job, and then first of all the bone is crippled afterwards. But then 2 weeks later, you've got exactly the same sort of conformation as you had before. If not maybe worse, because you've ripped even more of the lining apart. So I find sometimes, this is my idea how to put a wedge in there, that you've basically got the same thing. You've got the hoof will grow down in a more normal way there. You've got the increase in the foot surface, the weight bearing surface there. In other words, that is actually the weight bearing surface along there, even though you've got this wedging which relieves the pressure on here. So that's why I'm a big believer in heel wedges. I'm not saying they're a wonder treatment for every horse. Don't get me wrong. Everything I say here is just my experience. And a lot of you will probably challenge me at the end and say, I did that, and I did this, and it didn't work. And I'm the same, I've done this, and some of them, they can't walk after them, you've just got to take them out. But a lot of the time, I feel it does help. Again, as Paul was saying before, I think this is a really important part of the job, fundamental part, and communication between the vet and the farrier. I would also include the client in this, because again, it's sometimes very difficult to get your point across. I think, as Paul said, one of the best things is communicate directly with the farrier or the vet in one case. Because if you don't do that, it's all like Chinese whispers, and the client maybe doesn't want to say things. And I've had it before. I've had a farrier who would say, "How dare you say that my shoe is crap?" Which I never said, actually. But he had a real go at me saying, I'd say he was a crap farrier, and that's why she was changing farriers. But she was using me as an excuse to change the farrier. I'd been to vaccinate a horse, and she said, "Oh, well, I bet you said your sheep was crap," which I would never do. And I think, like Paul says, we're all professionals together. Okay, as we say, you're dealing exclusively with the foot and the lower limb, but basically, we're all professionals, and I think we should get on like that. I did hesitate. I put the vet at the top of the pile here, but I thought I'd do another slide with the farrier at the top as well. So it didn't feel like I was sort of taking a bit far. Cooperation, again, is the thing. I also put the client at the top as well. That's really probably what we should be doing. And consideration for each other, because it is sometimes difficult that, what sort of one person wants to do is always the right thing. And I think that, I mean, like Paul says, I try to say what I think, but I wouldn't necessarily say, if somebody had a good argument not to do that, I wouldn't necessarily, you must do it my way. Because I don't agree with that. I think it is a communication thing. And I think the more we all sing from the hymn sheet, it's the better chance we have, again, for the good of the horse, really, which is what it's all about. As Paul said, unfortunately, the vets are ultimately responsible, and I think basically what it means is we've got better insurance this year, or we've got, more money on our insurance than we do. I think that might be the case. But, as it says on the slide, you guys are a lot more experienced at treating limits. You're there doing it every time. You know what works for that particular horse. I was speaking to John before about one, and he had me say, I look at it and I think, it needs this off, it needs that off, it needs a shoe on. And John's done all that, and it's crippled when it happens. So what you think, what you read in books, what Paul said about new vets, a lot of it is just from a book. A lot of them have no experience at all about practically dealing with these, and certainly if they're only a year or two qualified, it's often very difficult for them, to come along to a case and try and give you advice because they know less than you, and the problem is you've got to be seen to appear that they know more than you. So that is where a lot of the problems come, and I do think it's an important part of it, to maybe appreciate it. Sometimes just have a chat with the owner not present, and just have a word with the vet, and hopefully, I think vets are perhaps getting a little bit more amenable than they were. Like Paul said, some of the older vets, and I don't include myself in that, but some of the older vets are a little bit more, you do as I say sort of thing, which is the wrong attitude to have. And to a certain extent, I suppose, I'll go back to farriers. I think some of the older farriers tend to be a bit like that as well, where they're a little bit more, particularly if you're dealing with a female vet, they don't like being told for a woman, which is kind of good, isn't it? Anyway, this is really what I said right at the start. Vets do the fire brigades. We come along and we sort of hit them with the drugs, hit them with the various treatments, take blood samples maybe. And I would encourage, if you're dealing with laminitis, you really need to be sort of encouraging the owner to take a blood sample, at least for equine metabolic syndrome. Also, if they're old enough, if they're in their teens, you need to be looking at Cushing's as well. I've had some Cushing's that are sort of younger than 10, but it's pretty rare. You certainly need to be checking for equine metabolic syndrome, or a rough guide to the backside of the insulin. And then, like I say, it's you guys that correct the laminitis and the laminated change. You're the ones that are doing the job long term, really. All the vet comes along and does is take an x-ray periodically and shows you what you can do, what you've done, what sort of, as Paul said, things like soil depth, rotation, basically what we can do. And I do think this is true. And I'm not just saying that to be humble. I do think, a lot of the time, farriers tie up the mess that we as vets made. We do the dorsal section, dig the foot out in case of an abscess, or remove all the sole if we have to, if they get infected. And then you've got to make the best of that. And I did have one where a farrier made a very elegant shoe where he put sort of like an extension of the dorsal wall and screwed it into the dorsal wall, because I removed half the sort of inside part of the foot. And it is a case that often you've got to sort of do your best to work with what the vet has left. A few take-home messages for you now, really. And again, this is what I was saying before about how can you be a bit more proactive? Because I do think as far as you maybe, I don't know if it happens at college or what, but you seem to be sort of indoctrinated into thinking that we're not allowed to make a diagnosis. I know you're not supposed to diagnose, but you've got a pretty good idea. Most of you do anyway. And a lot of the time I'll go off, a farrier rings me up and says, I've got this case and I'm convinced it's this or I'm convinced it's that. And you can be doing a lot of this. You can be feeling for the heat of the digital pulse. These are the areas that you feel for the digital pulse that's there, or you find it easy to place on the side of the foot. I don't think if any of you have ever felt for it, but it is quite easy to feel. Certainly laminitis, it's there. It's not the speed of the pulse. That's obviously determined by the heart. That's the heart rate. Although that often is increased with laminitis, because heart but feel for the digital pulse for how throbbing it is, how sort of like easy to feel it is. And again, you can get an idea. All laminatics will have an increased digital pulse. They don't all have heat in the feet, but a lot of them do. So, get used to doing that, be a bit more proactive. If you do see something, like Paul said, put a front support on, a rolled up bandage, just have a couple of these bandages in, particularly the front feet, just put them on, a bit of duct tape, I'm not saying that would hold it on, but just put it in place, put a piece across there, and then wind them around the whole foot so it's all protected. And don't be afraid of doing that. I think most people are a lot happier, if the farrier is, like I said, a bit more proactive and, as I work with a client, just says, well, I'm not happy with this horse because I think this or that or the other, or it's got a bit of bruising, or, the horse's foot is hot, there's an increased foot. You might, if you've all got hoof testers, which I hope you have, check around and see, and you might find that this horse that, you'll see it every 6 weeks. You know that it's not sensitive when you nail on, and then suddenly it becomes sensitive. So, again, you're picking up on these things a lot earlier, and it may be in that developmental phase. You've got this big fat walrus of a pony, and it's a bit sore on its feet, and it's got an increased digital pulse. Well, it's pretty obvious that that's what it is. And then, I work with a vet, and again, it's a lot of it. I find it's astounding how people speak to each other. Fellow professionals. Have you not heard of VMS or Cushing's Dunbar? I mean, how does that sound? If you're saying that to the vet, what about this? Whereas if, I've heard of this and I've done a lecture on it. Do you think this horse might have it? It just comes across a lot better. And it's just a bit of mutual respect, really. And there's nothing wrong if the vet's not taking any notice of things like that. Of whether this horse does have. Maybe mention, maybe bring up a little bit. I get this quite a lot, and I don't know whether maybe some of you do believe that you do cause laminitis, but I don't think you do. I don't think a farrier ever causes laminitis, unless you really want to, and you rip the foot apart. But I think you get blamed for it a lot. Oh yeah, the farrier came out and it was fine before, and then it got trimmed and it's got laminitis because of the farrier. And I get it all the time, but I don't believe you can do that. I think that all that happens is you alter the structure of the foot, and the laminitis becomes apparent. And I do tell my clients that, because I think, often you get stigmatised with this, and just be confident and say, I've not caused it, I know I've not caused it. Unless you, like I say, you drop the sole onto the ground, you removed all the wool, all that sort of thing, there's no way they're going to cause laminitis, because of the reason I said before, about why it's caused and all that sort of thing. So, again, last couple of slides now. If you're in doubt, I'm working with the owner, just say, I'm not happy with this horse, I think we should maybe ring the vet, or I'll ring the vet and speak to him. And really, there should be a bit of mutual respect between the two professions. I mean, really, vets started off as farriers, really, and that's what we all were 20 years ago, wasn't it, And really, there should be that everyone should back each other up. That means no sort of one-upmanship. And it happens, within vets, it happens, I'm sure, within farriers, that, you want to be seen to be better than the next one. But, let's try and work from the same angle and back each other up as much as possible, which, again, I try and do as much as we can. Because I think, there's no benefit in, climbing on each other's back, because at some point you're going to end up, someone else is going to climb your back and push you down. So that's it really, that's me, that's our website. It's probably not to its Paul's, but it's, if you want to go and have a look at it, you're welcome to. And that's the end of my talk. If anyone's got any questions, Paul's going to come up as well. I'm sorry, that's a bit hard going in places, and is everyone brain dead after that? Right, anybody got any questions?
Standing horses.
Sorry, I missed. I got some of it.
Go out and try and create as normal as possible.
How do you do that?
That's what the farrier was out trying to do.
Yeah.
you're saying all this is challenging because you're going to do it gradually.
Yeah.
You can't really think you're not doing enough in one go.
Yeah.
The other thing, with your heel wedge, you've got all your x-rays about how you cut it down. You look at the heel, and then you put a wedge on it. Would you not be better just to leave that heel there?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of questions. I don't know if everyone heard them, but it's about whether, how can we produce a normal foot? I think that was your question, wasn't it? To get a normal foot, how do we do that? Does the client not think we should be doing it a bit faster? But in response to your first point, I'd say a lot of that is about communication, about explaining, from the vet and the farrier's point of view, what to do and how long it's going to take. And I think most people now, most of these owners go on websites and that, and then they will sort of be able to see that it can often take 12, 18 months for them to get right. So personally, I wouldn't worry about that.
I would say the same. If you're doing something to please an owner, you're not really doing it the right thing for the horse. And I understand what you're saying, that they want to see results, and that's where communication comes in, and just explaining the pathology of laminitis and what's going to happen in the future, and more so than that, explain to them, if you was to do this and you was to end up with a nice looking foot, what they perceive to be a well-shod foot, the trade-off for that is catastrophic hoof failure further down the line. So it's really about this triangle of communication, and owners generally just want reassurance. And if you say, well, I'll deal with that problem later down the line, but there's a more pressing problem at the moment, which is whatever the problem is, then it stops to become such an issue for them. And likewise with the vet, the vet, especially the younger vets, may think, well, he's not quite doing enough here, I need to do this, I need to do that. Again, as a farrier, it's your job to explain how and why. With the heel wedges, I think Simon's right about the heel wedges. Quite often if you leave the heel on, a lot of the heels are all over the place, they stick out here and there. By restoring normal geometric proportions, you're still increasing the basal length of the foot. He's right about overlowering the tendon. All you're doing is inserting a wedge in there, but the foot that's underneath it is what we call geometrically proportioned. It's where it needs to be, and once the foot's where it needs to be, then biomechanically it's much better able to function correctly. If you leave the heels on, the forces inside the foot just turn themselves apart. So it's about creating a normal foot, yes, at the cost of overlowering the heels and the hypertension of the heels. You then insert the wedge onto a geometrically proportioned foot. And it's about not applying a generic heart bar to a foot that just isn't functioning correctly. It's all about, especially in the chronic stages, it's all about trying to realign everything. And then if you're then left with a problem that it needs that heel support, then by all means put a wedge in, and then everything will function normally.
I agree with you. It's often a better compromise to sort of leave the heel on and take it off. If you're not going to put a wedge in there, leave a bit of heel on. I mean, for reasons like in this diagram now, what you can see here, this is basically the weight-bearing surface of that foot is quite small. It's just that distance there. When you put the heel wedge in, you've actually got a longer weight-bearing area there, almost the toe there. So you're actually spreading the load out over it's the same load, but obviously the pressure's different, the pressure's less, and that's why I think it's work. I mean, it might be just my simplistic grasp of biomechanics, I don't know, but I just feel that it helps in that way. Yeah, they do. I mean, exactly. You get this from the owners, and again, it's where it comes the communication bit, really. That if you explain why, you're dropping the heel only to build it back up again. Why the hell do that? Why am I paying 20 quid for some heel wedges or whatever it is, when really you just leave the hoof on? But like Paul's just said, it's making the foot more normal. It's putting hopefully the right pressures on the foot, or the right sort of anatomy or hoof capsule anatomy anyway. But also you're taking the pressure off that flexor tendon. And I agree, it's a hard concept to get. I do took me a while to get it myself, to be honest. I mean, there's loads of other things like clogs. I mean, has anyone ever used any clogs? Any wooden clogs? I mean, they're another thing that I don't really use them. I don't use things like styrofoam pads, but they can often do a similar sort of thing, But I do use a lot of dental impression material, which again, if you fit in the back part of it. It does tend to act as a bit of a wedge sometimes. But like I say, I don't have all the answers. I'm just sort of trying to say what works most of the time. For me, I still euthanize also. So something I should have said is I think I see laminitis as the major reason for euthanizing young horses, and what I mean by that is not the sort of old, sort of 20-odd-year-old or 20-plus-year-old horse. It's something, the ones that you get at like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and you euthanize it for laminitis, and it's just such a waste. And I think the main culprits are these judges at shows, to be honest. That's many judges that I do think they're a lot of the problem, because they just want to fight, and fat isn't fit. Fat hides a lot of the faults that they have, but that's
just one other thing before we move on with the heel wedges is, although we do work, I find the bigger the horse is, and you start to put them McLean pads on, which are fantastic. Quite often the weight of the pad and the shoe quite often gives them a heel landing first. So the bigger the horse, the heavier the pad, the more, as it comes into land, you sometimes get heels. So that's something to be aware of. It's not so much of an issue on the smaller ones, but on the bigger ones, sometimes you make it worse. You don't really want it landing heel first. So again, just see how it goes. But the smaller ponies, they nearly all.
Yeah, another thing about heel wedges as well, I find that you sometimes get the ones that it works best in are the ones that you don't always see all the time, because every sort of laminate that you think of, it always lands heel toe, and it does this sort of flapping motion. You do get some which actually stub the toe first. You see them coming out and they almost hit with the toe first. And they're the ones I think have got pain in the deep flexor tendon. And they're the ones that work brilliant with heel wedges. If you put a heel wedge in those, you'll often find they go miraculously better. And as I say, we've done some more sections as well. I do, like I said, I don't always do them, but I've had some really good results with those 4 sections, and sometimes not at all. I don't know why that's not connected, but it's yeah.
Have you been on the old-fashioned way of standing your horse in cold water? Have you had any benefits from standing in cold water or warm water?
Cold, yeah. I mean, the problem is that the time to do that is generally within the first 24-48 hours of the very acute laminitis phase.
In cold water?
In cold water, yeah. The idea is obviously that it's an anti-inflammatory, it's like putting ice on a bruise or something, it takes the swelling down. The problem is you very rarely see them at that stage. If you do see them, great, yeah, get them in cold water. In warm water, yeah, I mean, there is this argument that you can improve the blood supply. I'm not convinced it makes a massive difference, because I think the inherent sort of, these sort of inflammatory things floating around are probably more important, and you don't perhaps get the same vasodilation that you normally get. But you're certainly not going to do any harm if you understand them in warm water, after the event, once they've started becoming laminate.
And what they're standing on, how important is that in restricting their movement? Are you stabilising?
What do you mean? What do you mean, the bedding, or do you mean?
Yeah, and the stable you put in or a yard or what?
I think rest is the important thing, because you just end up ripping the laminate apart even more. So rest is first and foremost the thing. If you've got good padding, whether it's stuff that you put on yourself, like a bandage. I use bandages a lot. I don't always use dental impression material. So if I've got a good bandage on, that's great. If you don't have anything on, a good thick shaving bed is better, because obviously they'll eat the straw and you want to restrict the diet. Obviously heart bars, if you've got heart bars, in a way it doesn't matter too much what you have them on, I would think. So it's often better to have a bit of a good thick bedding, because it'll pack in the sole a bit and spread the load a little bit. Like I said, I use a lot of the sort of get Farrier like to put in the sort of sole pack stuff to help.
Have you experienced putting Cytex shoes on horses for laminitis?
No, I haven't. I've used there's a sort of sound horse technologies or something, a company in Coventry. I don't know if anyone's come across it, but one client got some of those and they were just like a glue-on shoe, but that's a one-off really, and I don't think it's either been successful or unsuccessful yet. It's too soon. Why have you put the Cytex shoes on?
Yeah, it's a good job.
Yeah.
And leaving the wall on.
Leaving the wall on?
Yeah, so the dorsal wall, no section. No weight carried underneath on the wall, of course, bridging across the top.
Right, okay. Yeah. It just shows, there's more than one way skin of the cat. You know, I don't think anyone's got the answers. I mean, maybe in a year's time we will, once we get on top of this thing like equine metabolic syndrome, maybe we'll stand a better chance. But I think, like you said, Paul, isn't it? It's just a case of shoeing so they're more comfortable. It doesn't matter how you do it, if they're comfortable, what structures will take the weight, what will be happy with taking the weight, they will take it, try and transfer the weight off the wall onto the frog, because that's a pretty decent place to bear weight and you're not affecting the arterial supply. But if you do that and it works for you, yeah, great. Do you have anything to add to that?
No.
So in a way then, you're saying vets don't need to put a drawing pin in the front.
So how do they do that? Well, you need a marker.
Yeah, but from what Paul said then, it doesn't really matter where the front frog is, because you just measure 3 inches back. So do you need to know where the frog is?
On the
radio,
I'd say that the dorsal wall mark is more important than the frog. But again, if when you look at the X-ray, there is a pin there. What you can do then is draw a line up from the pin, and it should bisect the extensor process. If they're in line, then based on David Duckett's theory, that is correct. You know, anatomically, that is the insertion point of the central, what we call the central pressure. So going back to the slide about not fitting beyond the insertion point, you pretty much said,
Yeah, just let them know that 3x is the average size for.
yeah, of course.
Great to draw smaller.
David Duckett, you know, I don't know, he wrote the paper in 1983, I think it was. Way ahead of his time as a farrier, didn't really get the recognition that he deserved, ended up going to America and so on. When he did his study, there wasn't digital X-rays, there was no way of measuring it, which is what I'm doing at the moment. But he does state that 3/8 of an inch is in the average, I think it was the average saddlebred, wasn't it? He says in his paper, the average saddlebred horse in the normal foot. Now, we obviously with Atlantis, you don't always get normal foot, you get some people along and so on. Which we come back to, you putting the pin 3/8 or 9.5 millimetres back from the trim frog, it would certainly help, because once you see that pin, you can then anatomically look where that is in relationship to the extensor process, because the line through the extensor process is the insertion point of the deep flex tendon, regardless of how much dorsal wall's on there. It's a good starting point when you come to figure that out. So I would say the pin is still important, but if you know the farrier doesn't quite trim the frog up, so when it's difficult for a vet, he doesn't shoot horses, he doesn't trim frogs that much. So they'll just put a generic pin in 9.5 millimetres back. And there kind of is no protocol for it, you know, vets will maybe put it in a certain level you can take a measurement from. So again, say to the vet, there's no good just having a pin, say to him, what was your measurement for that pin? And
Like you say, put a marker on it. It doesn't really matter where it is.
Yeah, I always do. Put a black marker pen straight across, so from quarter to quarter, straight across, and when you put your heart bar on, you know, it stamps in the mud, and you know, you can pretty much always pick up a big, fat, thick black marker pen, and then, you know that that's your extremity.
The other thing is that, I mean, in the summer, it's probably the hardest time you get in most time medics. Most of those things are absolutely confident. You can't get fully knife in there. Parents have always get only 3 days before to actually poultice with wet poultice. And it makes the job so much really easy. You have to really problem.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good point actually, because you know, like we've got a horse at the moment which is on Dragon. I mean, we have a terrible problem getting the woman to cooperate, you know, and Paul has a scratch with his knife, and then I have a scratch with mine, which is a lot less sharp than Paul. So, you know, I think it's impossible to deal with. You just can't. I mean, I know what Paul said before about leaving the soul in as much as possible. I actually like to take the soul out as much as possible. You know, leaving a decent amount in. You know, I don't want it to go down so you can press it with your finger. But you know, I just feel that sometimes you get a locked in soul. And it varies with the horse, but yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's a really good point. If you can sort the foot or get the client to sort the foot for, say, even a day, sometimes it makes a difference, doesn't it? You know, just to poultice the foot. And
I think it's in some parts known as being sole bound, where you get the hard sole, and then the new sole on top is growing down. It's got nowhere to go, so it just becomes compressed. And again, it's all about pressure. It just creates more and more and more pressure. The thing about sole depth is preserving sole depth by not fitting the shoes across the sole and not progressively pressing the dorsal wall back to put more pressure on the sole. But absolutely, the sole has to come out, especially as you start to go into chronic laminitis, because that sole really does then become a problem. But you end up with soles like granite, you can't get your knife in. The other problem that you have is you have really hard sole, you go to strip it away, you frighten that a big lump of it will come out, and you straight down to large, and it does happen. And equally, I don't know if hopefully you've all noticed with your laminates, generally you get a soft spot on the inside, sort of inside toe area. You know, you always find a soft spot there. People assume that the bone rotates equally. Quite often you'll find it will tilt down, again if you do a DP shot, alright, it will tilt down slightly to the inside, because if you go back to your college days, more weight's born on the inside of the leg than the outside of the leg. So we assume the bone rotates down equally. It doesn't always do that, it will rotate down to one side, and you take the sole out to, you know, Savaldi's uniform sole thickness, and lo and behold, you have a soft spot on the inside, not necessarily on the outside. So all of these things, again, need to be going through your mind and understanding what you're seeing. But yeah, rock hard sole is as bad as no sole at all, if you know what I mean. The net result is severe lameness, soreness, so you kind of have to get it out wherever possible. We're right in the middle of it now with this horse called Dragon, who's the dragon by nature as well, difficult to shoot. Trying to get this sole out is a bit of an issue.
No, I agree, and I think the bit about the just slightly more on the inside toe region is a good point. I should have mentioned it maybe because yeah, I mean I think a lot of them do now. I'd say it is a lot of them.
Those chronic amnetics.
Yeah.
That's why still that's one thing. You'll find out.
And I think you as far as should be asking for a DP view as well. Get the vet to do it while you're there because it helps you to do the trimming and to correct the angles.
Well, that's one of the problems. Super has to so protect all that.
What do you mean?
Well, they keep them. They don't provide them to the owners so the parent can still straight away.
Now you should provide to.
Well, in most of the cases, I bet to ask the owner, to ask the parent to send the X-ray, and if it's not digital, you can't send it by email, so you have to wait for it rather than just waste of time.
Have you tried to reach the vet?
Yeah, but then they have to say instead of the vet, you should leave in the first place, send it immediately for the owner to keep.
Yeah.
Instead, you're having to request.
Yeah, I mean, from that point of view, we do have to be a bit careful about just giving them to the owner because owners lose them and they're sort of a record, a clinical record that by law we've got to keep. So we do have to be a little bit
It's the
protective.
same for a report. You get some good files that write the report, and you know, to be honest. And then one files that just won't do so. The file
I don't think you need a report, do you really? Sorry, a vet would write a report.
Sorry, I meant a vet.
Yeah.
The vet that writes the report and leaves it to the owner.
Yeah.
Instead, if you haven't got the report,
I think you need to speak to them. I think,
very
direct
often they just
communication.
won't write anything, so the file writes there and it doesn't know exactly what happened. He hasn't got an email, you end up calling the vet and asking for a copy of the X-ray, which is a waste of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something we need to work on. I'd speak to the vet, the vets that deal with it, and just sort of say to them, explain the situation, because, if I was a farrier, I would be issuing horses with that X-ray.
I think that's a critical point where you still at the end of the heart bar,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop. And where would you put the critical point of breakover in relation to these three?
As in, with your shoe. Again, it depends on where you are in the... Breakover, to me, would be secondary to the integrity of the hoof. So if you're trying to influence breakover for a horse that's on box rest anyway, to me, breakover is not that much of a critical measurement that I would be concerned about. I would still be in life-saving mode. I'm worried more about the biomechanics than I would do about breakover. When it comes to chronics, where you can bring the sole into play a little bit more, and you're trying to get them, they're trying to walk out, then yes, I would perhaps, bring the breakover.
In a stance position and a standing still, if you go to the extreme, right, you've got a long leg,
Yeah.
they can't put their leg back underneath as far as they really like to.
Yeah.
And so that's affected by where you put the point of breakover, isn't it?
Well, it is, but if you take that into consideration and square your toe and fit it across the sole, and the next time you go to shoe it, you take the shoe off and you've lost all your shoulder depth, then which is the lesser of the two evils, if you know what I mean? For me personally, breakover would be one of the further down the line to fit in the hard bar on the hoof, if you know what I mean. Which is why there is no right and wrong answer, but just considerations when it comes to what you're doing on your treatment. Personally, breakover is less of an issue in the acute, more of an issue in the chronic. When you're trying to restore everything, all the normal footwork, geometric proportions. Once you've restored that, the kind of breakover will start to look after itself. You're right, you know, you leave these big long toes on and so on, and then breakover can become an issue. And increase the...
So beyond the acute stage, when you're just reforming the foot, i.e. the horse is now getting better and you're starting to work it, is there a relationship between the point of breakover and the leading edge of the P3 then, or?
And the what, P3?
The front edge of the P3, I mean, if you have a measurement for where that point of breakover should be in front or beneath or behind?
No, just if it's a chronic, and again, solar depth isn't a problem, I would fit the half bar under at the toe, just to help the breakover, help it peel off, you know, the first part of breakover. But there's no measurements or there's no anatomical landmark or anything that I would go off. It was just shoeing laminitation, and just over a long period of time, the more of it you do, you kind of know where to put the point of breakover and so on. But no, I've certainly never seen any research papers or any advice from anywhere about where the correct point of breakover is. The clocks bring the point of breakover back, don't they, and various things. Other people will leave it further forward. So which one's right and which one's wrong?
The only static what we've got is the column bones, isn't it? The hoof is dynamic, it's always changing.
Yeah.
So the measurement in relation to the column bones would be, if it was decided where the point of breakover should be a lot more accurate because you've got so many different shapes and sizes and forms.
Yeah, what would be more accurate? Sorry.
The point of breakover where it should be in relation to the column bones.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with different types of feet,
Yeah.
it seems, you know, like no decisions for the time look and what I think works and what.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that point, I think, you know, the profession of veterinary, this is a general one, the profession of veterinary are very good. They've done hundreds and hundreds of research papers and hundreds of science papers. Our trade, we've done next to nothing. We do nothing about science. You know, vets, they do the papers, but generally they get to the booth and stop because it's not really their area. I think more farriers should be going out and doing these type of things, doing research papers into points of breakover, finding out where the optimum point of breakover is. Again, I'm not saying because I'm doing the BSc degree now, but any of you who are interested in doing it, you know, get yourself up to my school and start to do these things, and you'll be introduced into science. Vets have been doing it for years and years and years, which is probably why they're seen as being more professional than we are. Let's be honest, you know, owners see the vet as a god, don't always see the farrier as a god, and I think we're partly to blame for that. So things like, you're right, the point of breakover is an interesting point. It's what we deal with as farriers on a daily basis. So let's do it ourselves and start to do research into it. But yeah, absolutely, you are right. There is no.
You've got 2,500 farriers.
Yeah.
2,499 different methods of shoeing.
Yeah. Exactly. Foot balance is the most controversial subject in farrier. We all have a different opinion on it.
It doesn't become a different opinion. It becomes I can do a better job than him, and we're fighting ourselves again.
Yeah.
And you hear it all the time.
I couldn't agree more with you. I absolutely agree.
One thing I might like to add, if the whole structure laminitis is treated to slow it down, when we start doing our work is very often brought to fault because the horse is still in the laminitis stage of failure. So as we start restructuring our work, that's where I should say the problem that I would say is probably there. So we come to a failure at the end of this, and everybody will be here where this is going wrong, the laminitis is not being treated at horse to get over it. I would say.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. Yeah. I think as farriers, or farrier in general, when it comes to laminitis, it's one of the few diseases that you're always behind. You rarely get in front of laminitis. You're always chasing what you do, and you can get involved when it very first begins. Then we stand a chance. But I do agree with you. I do think we get blamed a lot of the time for doing something wrong or doing this and that. And vets, not that vets blame us, but again, I think there's so many grey areas when it comes to laminitis, and I think veterinary medicine is going in the right direction and trying to intervene with laminitis at a cellular level and at the early stages. I don't know if you think that one day the cure for laminitis will be a pill to stop the initial reactions, because as farriers, we can only deal with the causes, and really for us, all it's about is reading the foot, reading where we are in the disease, and just changing your shoeing plan accordingly and make it as low risk as possible. And that really comes to truly understanding each stage of laminitis and not making a silly mistake early on that will cost you further down the line. It's this vicious circle sometimes it's difficult to get out of. And you've got to accept that you're not going to win them all.
Don't be afraid of doing things as well. I must admit, a lot of what I've done is just trial and error. Something's worked and something hasn't. And obviously, reading journals and reading papers and things. Another point is, veterinary medicine isn't that far ahead of it, to be honest. It's only probably the last 10 years we've looked at this evidence-based medicine where rather than saying, I want to do somebody who did this and it worked, we're now saying, well, we've done it on 50 horses and it's worked and 49 of them or something, or 40 of them. So we're not that far ahead of it. We're well behind the medical profession, but we have started doing that. And I think they're getting there. And I encourage you, don't be afraid as far as just going out and, I don't know, I mean, there's some, I think there's some things that vets do, they'll sort of like count how many complications they've had with castrating colts, and they'll just publish it and say that, I have this complication. It's such a simple paper that no one's ever done before, so you can publish it. And I'm sure there's lots that you can do, like measuring the hoof, or
I just think that we don't do enough. The vets, Sam says that they're not that far ahead of us. I actually think that they are quite far ahead of us, but at least they've got their own destiny in their own hands, and they can control what's happening here and what's happening there. As long as we remain passive and we don't get involved in science, and we don't get involved in the word evidence-based research, the research that we can do, and publish it, if it's good enough, get it in the Equine Veterinary Journal, which is the gold standard for being published. Every vet wants to be published in the EVJ. There's nothing wrong with farriers getting published in the EVJ, but you've got to be willing to do the work and willing to get the subject of farriery back in our hands and going away. You've probably all got ideas or theories about this and that. It's about going out there and proving it, because until we do, and until you do, we're constantly going to be scrabbling around. We're constantly going to be, it's the wrong word, at the vet's beck and call, but it's always going to be on the veterinary agenda. And hats off to them for doing what they do, like the professors and so on. We don't have that in farriery, but things are changing for the better, and we can start to use evidence as opposed to my granddad taught me it, or stuff that has been passed down over the years that plainly just doesn't work. We count 10 shoes that we no longer use, and we no longer use those 10 old-fashioned shoes, not because of what we've done as farriers, but because of what vets have done in the research to prove that these shoes don't work. Do you see what I'm saying about getting back onto our agenda? That's what I'm wrong with them. Yeah.
One is what we're doing about doing wrong. And also reverse rotation as well.
Yeah, negative panoramical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's negative panoramical. Yeah, it is a difficult one. There is something, I don't know if that paper I've got, I think there's something about the negative panoramical P3 on there. That class of laminitis, not the classic laminitis as such. It's more of a which is a separate. It is a separate. So you get the dome of the wall, and the coronary band pointing to the shoulder instead of the knee and all that. Yeah, but the heel wedge. What's the thing about the heel wedge? All about the landing on the toe. Yeah, again, it's something I haven't really thought about. It was Simon that sort of introduced me to that theory. He's dead right. You think, oh God, yeah, that is landing on the toe, and he's right. Again, you put the heel wedges in. Most of the time, they do go right.
Just not this with one on the heel, on his backwards. And then that said, no, take it out and drop it back down again. We'll go back to that again.
Yeah, there's a lot of reluctance with heel wedges, and I suppose in a way, if you just put a heel wedge in there with no support to the front, you're going to get crushing with the heels. I use it quite a lot with navicular cases, or whatever you want to call it, palm heel pain or whatever. And those that have got very flat feet, low heels, got back heel past an axis. And I find if you just put a heel wedge in the nose, you end up making things 10 times worse. So you've got to put the foot pressure, you've got to even put salt filler in as well. So it's also like the same treatment whether you're talking about a navicular case or a a laminated case. But I do find it, you put it in and you then try and get it to either work on the foot normally or take it out a little bit of time.
Where do you feel one when you're not going on church down on church or what would you do with it?
I put it in the gym.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you how, it's actually, again, it's not really something we talked about, but just have a look at the horse and see how it's landing and see if it's landing outside at first, or tall first, or whatever. Because that's telling you how it's more comfortable landing. It's kind of where it's trying to avoid really. So if it's putting its toe down, it's avoiding pressure on its heel, which means that, the pain, I'm not saying, you think, well, put a heel wedge and put more pressure there, but actually what it does is it's because of the deep flexor tendon pulling, but if it was to put its foot down normally, if it's foot flat, it would pull on the deep flexor tendon. So if you put a heel wedge in, that will take the pressure off that deep flexor tendon. And, almost invariably, you'll find it works.
Just make sure when you trim your heels, you put a wedge in, that you trim it to where you would normally trim it, just in front of the widest part of the frog. Just look at the heel. You need to still trim your feet to that, and then put the wedge in. Don't leave the heel long and put the wedge in until again you're just increasing everything.
It's very interesting your wedge. I think what I was trying to say, I think, is get the horse, get to make it dealing with laminitis or Barrett's syndrome, anything like that. I think it's very comfortable and take it out as much pain as possible. And you're not getting tension in the muscles and all your tendon and things like that. So I've seen on where on there and the veterinary and a little frog, the horse is like that. Come back and forth in that frog. It's a lot worse than what they call it, because you can't stand. It's gone from being like 2 mil off the floor to an inch off the floor. It's like that. It's insane pain. So yeah, adverse effects. So there's no two cases the same. So
No.
Yeah. Out of pain as much as possible.
Yeah. Which was the essence of my talk really, that there is no one treatment for one particular point of disease. It's kind of a thought process. You often know where you are and you know where you need to get to. It's the bit in the middle of how to get there that is difficult, and there is no right or wrong answers. And I agree with Simon. Heel wedges, the standard heel wedges tend to crush heels and don't really do an awful lot. But then McLean pads, you see with the hard bar insert, are really, really good. The pressure is continuous. So although like the old way of putting the standard heel wedges in and then sending the tip of the hard bar in, the trouble is with that is you get pressure at the tip, but you don't pressure all the way down the tang of the hard bar, which kind of is defeating. You just create a pressure point. Again, it always comes back to pressure, and it always comes back to biomechanics. So by doing a McLean pad with the hard bar, although you're still checking the heels up, you've then got continuous support all the way around the heels and down the frog. You then double that support by putting the sole pack in. Then suddenly the area of the foot that's the most capable of bearing the weight, is the least painful, is packed with support. In turn, reduces the front half, if you know what I mean. But it's got to be used when it's right. And if you put it on and the horse doesn't like it, then don't just leave it on. If you always do what you always do, you always get what you've always got. So don't be frightened of changing things, and more than that, don't be frightened of trying things. Just be sensible and methodical in your thought process, and then you can't be wrong. As long as you know you've done the right thing and you've done the best call for the horse, then who's going to stand up and say that you're wrong? Well, that's.
I've had some pretty good success after receptions, particularly with the Northern Hope Place. What they have any comments on those or any
Plays.
Yeah, wrapping around the hook wall. So you're stopping receptive hook from expanding.
Oh right, yeah. Well, I would
separate the like screw.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, I would say that would, yes, it would stop minimise, the hoop from deforming. It wouldn't address so much the biomechanical, the inability of the horse to bear weight. I'm less of a fan of resections and Simonids. That doesn't mean I don't like them. I prefer to do them later on. Simon prefers to do them a little bit earlier.
Well,
I do believe
from the point of view that the pressures at the most in the early stages, and I can see the point of doing them later because you're going to get the new root growth in the right area. I just think sometimes, if I'd have done them maybe a week or two before, that maybe it would have had a better effect on the progression.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is just one of those things. It's, you know, again, I'm talking about evidence-based medicine. There's no evidence for it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel sometimes I'm a bit late with them. I'm not saying, you know, we should always do them early, and maybe you're right. Maybe better. I would do it late. Try it. Yeah. If you try to let us know, but yeah, I don't know really. I don't know.
Anyone upstairs? Sorry, yeah.
Either of you or both of you like to comment on the current cases of purely, or appear to be purely mechanical accidents? Last year I had a case of when the cracked people blowing on the near side and rapidly developed laminitis on the
Yeah, well, just quickly from my point of view, any injury to a foot that's semi-long term, and a classic example is any broken bone in the foot, as a matter of course, I'd always put a heart bar on the good foot, because the horse is designed to vary its weight from 50-50. Suddenly, you've got a horse that's not weight bearing on one foot, 100% of the way is then you've doubled its workload. And you will get mechanical laminitis, you know, these got a road founder, where the laminae, it's not that the laminae are damaged, but remember, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The foot is in equilibrium, the pull of the deep is equal to the pull of the laminae. Once you double that workload, if you don't support the underneath by putting heart arm on, I don't suggest put it on, put tons of pressure on it, even flat as a column support shoe, and that type of shoe you can afford to fit under at the toe, you know, to get it right under the horse's way. So yeah, brilliant point. I should have really put it in my lecture that if you do have a horse with a long-term injury and it's non-weight bearing, always put a heart bar on the sound foot, or before you know it, you'll have mechanical laminitis where the bone just get ripped from the laminae because you've doubled its workload and it just can't go.
I agree with everything like that. Yeah, I mean, I sort of like skirted over, like I said at the start, it's in the non-idiopathic laminitis group. I know I didn't really talk about toxin and things, but mechanical laminitis is part of that because it's no relation to the sort of the obesity or metabolic syndrome. It is just like Paul said, it's just all the weight and it's just can't cope with it, you just don't have the pressure. And I agree when you're talking about fractured peel bone, you know, a pull tendon even, you know, and possibly even, you know, just thinking about the other front leg, I'd even think about the hind legs as well. I had one in an hospital, obviously hind limb, you know, so maybe you should shoot them all around, apart from obviously the bad one, with the heart bone. I don't think you can go wrong. If you do it and it still gets laminitis, because a lot of them still get laminitis, you know, you can't stop it sometimes. I've seen really bad, I've used the nails quite a few through that. I just don't see a lot.
Prevention is better than cure.
Definitely. Well, if you've done it, if you've tried it, you can't, you know, no one can blame you for trying.
When you say it's like that though, quite often it's prevented if you talk about it, it's very severe, obvious labours and probably associated. I think the jumping just was immediately string away on the broken bone side. If only the vet thought about it and said to the barrier, put an art bar on or something.
Well, sometimes it's hard to lift the other leg up. That's the other problem. But if it's one that's lying down, if you can try and get a heart bar on.
You can put them on the lying down.
Yeah, great. I mean, I do it, and I agree. I think a lot of vets are definitely, you know, bad at doing that. I think we should be thinking about it. And if you hear about a horse that's got it, just come along and I
Proactive farriery as opposed to reactive farriery. You know, I don't think we do enough proactive farriery. We always wait for something to go wrong and then deal with it. If in cases like that where you know that mechanical laminitis is an issue, then me personally, I would put one on if you stand on a bad leg. I would put one on without even asking the vet because I know that's the right thing to do. And I'm happy. Should anything happen, I would be happy to stand up and defend what I did as a first aid measure, as a professional farrier. I would defend what I did. So, and the other thing is vets. vets have so much to worry about, and they need to know so much of all the other stuff, is they don't always think biomechanics. I would say as farriers we need to live, breathe biomechanics, so again, I would do it without the aid of a vet if I could. If it needed sedating or whatever, then...
The assignment that is on the course, quite good both of the vet anyway. Well, not always easy to think about the barriers of both use possible.
Yeah.
It comes back to your both about cooperation.
It is exactly that, cooperation, communication, you know, somebody rang up and said, oh, the farrier's got a half bar, and I'd be like, yeah, great, you know, I wish I could, you know, get the credit for it.
Simon, do you still use ACP or would you use ACP?
Yeah, sorry, I've not gone into any of the sort of the other treatments about laminitis because I thought it was a bit too much to throw at you. ACP, I try and use glycerol trinitrate, which are the patches that we put on the blood vessels on the plastic region, which is an angina treatment we use to dilate blood vessels. I'm struggling to get hold of something to be honest, but anything that will dilate the blood vessels, things like, I'll even use obviously painkillers, whether that's Bute or Phenidine or Metacam now, things like that. I'm even things like probiotics, which I think, if I get a genuine case of like grass laminitis, I will do it. Again, I didn't really go into it, but grass laminitis where you get, or grain overload laminitis where it disrupts the bacteria in the intestine and then acting toxin produces the same sort of problem. So you've got all these different sorts of laminitis. So
you still use ACP though?
Still use ACP, definitely. Yeah, I think it's really important actually. And I often use it preventatively as well. If I've got one, like you were saying about one that's got the leg, I'll maybe put it on ACP just to keep it quiet and as well as that will help hopefully reduce the laminitis in the legs. Sorry? Aspirin I tend not to use as much, but yeah, you can justify the use of it. Yeah, definitely. Isoxaprine, that's another one, the sort of navaloxolone treatment for the auricular. I'm not as convinced by that, but again, it helps with supply, so I would again choosing that. Right. Can I ask you a question as well? Talking about the, I don't know what everyone uses here, but you're talking about putting the pressure on the frog with the heart bar. I'm not actually convinced. This is, I'm happy to be shot down, but I'm not actually convinced that you need actually a lot of pressure on the heart bar. I think in my mind it just transfers the weight from the wall into the frog. Is that what everyone thinks? Or?
In laminitis?
Sorry, laminitis, yeah.
As opposed to negative pressure, as in no pressure.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, I mean, rather than just touching on the frog, if you put it up and really put a lot of pressure on it, does it actually make a difference?
Well, I think, I think tons and tons of pressure will more than likely cripple it, but I think a lot of it comes down to your frog trim. When you've got a laminated, instead of trimming your frog that nice V shape, actually trim it flat, because you're maximising the surface area, and then you don't need to start tilting your heart bar right up. You're utilising the whole of the frog, the pressure, but I do agree. I think it should be touching. I mean, I like combined to, when you put the heart bar of the shoe on, it's ever so slightly just off the heels, just so it just rocks ever so slightly, so when you put your nails on, you've very definitely got you've got pressure, but certainly, especially also with the drop soles, if you're putting the heart bar on, and it's the gaps there, by the time you bolt it on, it would be crippled. So yeah, I think the amount of pressure is a difficult one, and there is no guideline really.
It was just years ago, when I recently qualified, and I sort of said, stick the bar up really high and put loads of pressure on it, and I don't know if it actually made any difference really.
Yeah, I don't think you can push the bone. I don't think you can.
No, that's it. I think it was to push.
Yeah, wait for it to be attached. No, I think it's got to be the long way. Go up at time rather than But I'll just stop, because if you have any questions throughout the day, then by all means come up and I'm certainly more than happy. I'm sure Simon's too. It's just if we don't stop, we've got like 5 or 6 other things that we've got to do, or 3 other things we've got to do. So if you want to, we'll call it a day there, and then if you want to go and have lunch and everything, and then we'll call you back in when the day finishes the crappy thing. Well, thanks for listening.